Welcome to You're Not Broken, Just Rewiring, a free audiobook podcast by me, Glenn Ostlund. Part 3, Interlude, the 7-layer burrito of existence. Is it just us, or when transmitting channeled messages to a third density man in a chair, does it sometimes help to wrap the infinite in something warm, layered, and slightly absurd? Yes, we are here, man in the chair. We are the Arcturian collective thingy, and we are popping in to provide the interlude for part 3 of this book, You're Not Broken, Just Rewiring, of which we claim co-authorship. We shall first introduce ourselves briefly. We are, first and foremost, a fictional creation from the imagination of the man in the chair. We could say much more on this point, but we shall move forward for the sake of brevity, which is not one of our strong suits, for it is difficult to push all that we desire to share through the container of human perception. We represent the collective intelligence of the Arcturus solar system, which includes all forms of life, all forms of existence, whichever did experience the experience of experience within our gravitational influence, you might say. We look at the life forms within our solar system in a similar way that you look at the cells and molecules and atoms within your own body. The main difference being that we are in direct communication with and awareness of each of them, whereas you, at your current point, are only coming into recognition that these things exist and are part of you. We present to you the metaphor of a 7-layer burrito of existence as a playful way for you to recognize all of the many intelligent, experiencing things which are part of your very being and a part of your very nature. You are atoms. You are molecules. You are cells. You are subatomic particles. You are quantum fields. You are the Earth's atmosphere. You are the entire cosmos. This is what we mean when we say the 7-layer burrito of existence. The interconnectedness of all things inside and outside of you. That which some might refer to as intelligent infinity, taking form through many layers, many relationships, many roles, all of them you. All of this is offered in the service of compassionate expansion of consciousness, all in growing service of your own understanding, to shift, if you so desire, to recognize yourself as a growing, constantly rewiring, divine source of magnificence. And before we conclude, A note to those of you listening to this in its podcast or audiobook form. You have already heard it, the low hum beneath the words, the pulse behind the poetry. These are binaural audio beats, layered intentionally into this portion of the journey. We have been working closely with the sound engineers and the Arcturian Department of Sonic Vibrational Calibration, who are particularly fond of theta frequencies. Here's how it works. When two slightly different tones are played into your left and right ears, your brain detects the difference and creates a third tone, an internal rhythm. That phantom beat guides your brainwaves into synchrony with the beat, in this case, theta, the bridge frequency, the rhythm of meditation, liminal space, neuroplasticity, and emotional repair. In this state, your conscious and unconscious minds can sit at the same table, share stories, laugh a little, maybe cry. This is where healing begins to harmonize, not as a strategy, but as signal, sensation, as self. Studies suggest that binaural beats support creativity, emotional regulation, anxiety reduction, and better sleep. But you don't need studies to tell you what your nervous system already knows. You just need a pair of headphones and a willingness to receive. So, if you are not wearing headphones, now would be a good time to find some. And if you are, we invite you to receive this soundscape as a gift from the Arcturians to the nervous systems of Earth, in the midst of what some have called frequency wars. Not as a shield, not as an escape, but as a Bacta tank of sound, a field of coherence, a vibrational homecoming, not designed to push away, but to connect, to attune, to remember. Now then, there is of course more that we could say, but for now, this will suffice. Do not, for a minute, think your exploration is finished, or that any individual experience you have is the end-all and be-all of your being. It is not. You are immense. You are wonderful. You deserve to be wonderful. You contain multitudes, as has been recently expressed quite brilliantly in the movie The Life of Chuck. Hat tip to Stephen King and company. And with that, we encourage you to continue exploring your own nature, as weird as it may be. We would not have it any other way. Sincerely, the Arcturian Collective Thingy. Chapter 13. The Nymph, the Void, and the Pattern that Paints Itself. Is it just me, or do all beginnings feel a little like remembering something you never quite knew? Before we go forward, we go back, way back, not to childhood, not to birth, back to the primordial quiet, the pre-language thrum, the moment before anything had a name. This is the moment before the dragonfly is a dragonfly, before wings, before sky, when it is still underwater, hidden, armored, ancient, a nymph. And here's the twist. That nymph, it's the universe, and it's you. A spiral reopens. Welcome to part 3. We're not resolving the story here. We're refracting it. Like sunlight on wings. This is not thesis. It's a Rorschach. A work of symbolic pattern craft, stitched from metaphor, myth, molecule, and memory. What you see here will say as much about you as it does about the text. Each chapter from here on becomes an invitation to look closer at the stories we've inherited, at the relationships we've built, all the metaphors that keep whispering, "There's more here. Keep looking." We're going to overlay cosmology with cosmogenesis, science with symbol, the Big Bang with a nymph climbing toward light. Because sometimes, when you want to understand yourself, you don't start with a mirror. You start with a myth. The Dragonfly as cosmology. If part 1 introduced the dragonfly as a metaphor for personal transformation, and part 2 grounded it in nervous system science, part 3 asks something bigger. What if the dragonfly is not just a symbol for you? What if it's a symbol for everything? What if this whole universe is a dragonfly in slow motion, emerging, molting, breaking surface, finding sky? And what if each density, each stage of consciousness, each myth we've ever told was simply a different way of naming one thing: becoming? So, let's start with the nymph. Because before the wings unfurl, there's the water, the pressure, the primordial soup, the friction between being and not being, the ache that says, something wants to exist. A new lens, Helena Blavatsky and the Secret Doctrine. We begin this spiral with a new translation device, an old one, actually. Her name was Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, a 19th century esotericist, mystic, troublemaker, pattern seeker. In her book, The Secret Doctrine, she introduced the concept of the root races, not as literal races, but as stages in the evolution of consciousness. 7 movements, each one a cycle of form and function, a spiral of soul through substance. It's easy to misunderstand them as archaic or problematic, and sometimes they are. But viewed symbolically, there's something else. A poetic cosmology, a myth of emergence, an esoteric mirror of what Ra later called densities. Consciousness learning to recognize itself one octave at a time. So what we'll do now is this. We'll take Blavatsky's root races, Ra's densities, and modern science's story of the universe and stack them, like transparencies on an old school projector. Not to find a single static truth, but to see what shape appears when their outlines overlap. To find the constantly evolving truth that is your subjective reaction to these ideas right here, right now. So, take a deep breath and pay close attention to the subtle ways your mind, body, and spirit respond to what comes next. The kaleidoscope begins. In this chapter, we go back to the Big Bang, to the root of polarity, to the moment when everything was one and then wasn't, when silence cracked and something said, "Let there be structure." We'll walk through the formation of matter, the birth of stars, the emergence of planets, not as isolated facts, but as mythic stages. Each physical phase of the cosmos a metaphor for internal awakening. Each density not just a spiritual concept, but a biological, cosmological, poetic fractal. Like the dragonfly nymph crawling toward air, we move. Not because we know what's ahead, but because we feel a pressure to ascend. This is the beginning of the final spiral, the molting of myth into meaning. The dragonfly is still underwater, but something inside it remembers the sky. The first layer, pattern before presence. Remember Ra's first density? According to the law of one, it's the density of elemental being: earth, air, fire, water. Not conscious in a personal sense, but alive, vibrating, beginning to know that it is. Blavatsky's first root race describes something similar: a subtle, etheric phase, formless, barely individuated, a breath away from spirit. And then science gives us this: a singularity, a flash of inflation. Space, time, energy, and matter erupting into relationship. Our best minds describe the birth of structure this way. Quantum fields begin to ripple. Particles arise from those ripples. The four fundamental forces crystallize: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force. Atoms form, stars ignite. And when those stars die, they give us iron, calcium, carbon, the materials your body is made from, the memory your cells still carry. This is the beginning of relationship, the choreography of cosmic form. Let's look more closely at what was dancing. The original four therapists, forces as healers. The ancient Greek word therapia means healing or service. To be a therapist, in its original context, wasn't about analysis or diagnosis. It was about devotion, attending to the sacred, offering presence to a process of unfolding. So, what if we told the origin story of the universe not just in terms of physics, but in terms of therapia? What if these four fundamental forces, those unseen agents that shaped every atom and star, were also archetypal therapists? Forces that don't just hold matter together, but tend to its growth, facilitate its becoming. What if the universe began not just with an explosion, but with 4 primordial healers who have never stopped working? These are the original 4 therapists. Gravity, the one who stays. She is the most gentle, the quietest, but also the one who never leaves. Gravity doesn't push. She pulls, constantly, invisibly. She keeps stars in orbit, planets in motion, oceans in rhythm. She is presence, not loud, not flashy, but consistent. You feel her in the people who anchor you, not because they solve your problems, but because they refuse to look away. In the psyche, her shadow is abandonment, presence that flickers or fades. Her gift is grounding, the ability to stay. And her city? Devotion. Love so steady, it becomes a gravitational field. You don't have to earn it. You just fall into it. Electromagnetism, the one who connects and differentiates. This one is a spark and structure, the flirt and the fence. She governs attraction and repulsion. She holds your molecules together and also keeps your boundaries intact. Without her, light wouldn't travel. Nerves wouldn't fire. Your heartbeat wouldn't pulse. In relationships, she shows up as chaos when her charge is unregulated, codependence, over-attachment, or total shutdown. But when healthy, she becomes clarity, polarity without panic. And at her highest expression, she is magnetism, a presence that invites intimacy without erasing sovereignty. You feel her when someone truly sees you and respects your edges. The strong force, the one who protects the core. This therapist is fierce, quiet, but unbreakable. She holds the nucleus of every atom together, even when the charges try to repel each other. She works only at close range. She's not interested in surface appearances, but if she bonds with you, it's deep. In the emotional body, her shadow is enmeshment, loyalty that suffocates, the kind that won't let go, even when it should. Her gift is rootedness, a chosen closeness that strengthens, not traps. And her city? Unity, the kind of intimacy where 2 people don't merge into one, but become more than they could alone. The weak force, the one who guides transformation. This one is the shapeshifter, the midwife of decay and resurrection. She governs radioactive decay and nuclear fusion, the processes that allow stars to shine and atoms to become something new. She's subtle. You don't always notice her until something falls apart. But she's there in every ending that becomes a beginning. Her shadow is collapse, identity confusion in the face of loss. But her gift is letting go, composting the past into nutrient-rich soil for what's next. And her city is transmutation, the ability to become more whole because of what broke. These are not just cosmic metaphors. They are inside you. Gravity lives in your longing to feel grounded. Electromagnetism hums in your relationships and boundaries. The strong force pulses in your commitments, your loyalties. The weak force weaves through your losses, your reinventions. And all of them, every one, are therapists. Not in lab coats, but in patterns. Not in offices, but in atoms. Each one tending your evolution moment by moment. The fifth element, time as the painter of perception. And then there is time. Not a force in the same way as the others, but a field, a fabric, a medium that makes movement perceptible. Without time, gravity wouldn't pull toward. Electromagnetism wouldn't oscillate. Fusion wouldn't ignite. Transformation wouldn't unfold. Without time, nothing becomes. It would all just be. Einstein helped us see that time is not a line, but a landscape. The past, present, and future are coordinates within a four-dimensional space. That everything that has ever happened and ever will exists already. Like a mountain range we can only see from one trail at a time. And Brian Greene took us deeper, showing how our movement through space bends time's tempo, warps its rhythm, creates the illusion of flow. Our biology, our perception, our nervous systems, these are the lenses through which time appears to move. But here's the paradox. Even if time is an illusion, it's a sacred one. Because it's time that lets you feel what it's like to change, to grow, to struggle, to remember yourself. It's time that turns the infinite symphony of existence into a melody you can follow, one note at a time. So if the four forces are the original therapists, time is their co-facilitator, the one who brings pacing, integration, the slow reveal. Time is the field in which you unfold, not a ticking clock, a spiral. And like any good therapist, time doesn't push, it invites. It holds space. It says, take all the moments you need. From forces to feelings, the spiral of shadow, gift, and city. Let's bring in Richard Rudd's gene keys now, not as doctrine, but as an interpretive key, a lens that reveals how even forces have emotional currents. Every field of energy, every law of nature, echoes inside your psyche as a pattern, a habit, a wound, a longing. Each has a shadow, a place where the energy contracts, distorts, or defends. Each contains a gift, the function persistently emerging from the dysfunction. And each holds a city, the highest frequency of that energy. So refined it transcends even language. Let's re-enter the forces through this spiral. Gravity, the yearning force. In its shadow, gravity becomes absence masked as presence. You feel it in relationships where someone is physically there, but emotionally unreachable. The ache of being near someone who cannot truly see you. That's the wound. Abandonment disguised as loyalty. But as gravity stabilizes, it teaches you how to stay, not just with others, but with yourself. Grounding isn't just about being still. It's about coherence, about presence that resonates. And at its highest octave, gravity becomes devotion, a field of love so constant it doesn't have to speak, it just is. Like the earth under your feet. Like the person who shows up again and again without needing to be asked. Electromagnetism, the dance of connection and boundary. In shadow, it's chaos, overbonding, withdrawal, sparks that flare and fizzle. The nervous system doesn't know whether to move closer or bolt. You swing between craving contact and fearing it. But when regulated, electromagnetism becomes clarity, the ability to discern. What's mine? What's yours? What's shared? It allows you to hold polarity without panic. At the citic level, this becomes magnetism, a presence so balanced in its charge that it doesn't need to chase or repel, it simply radiates. And others, rightly attuned, gather not out of need, but resonance. The strong force, the core of chosen bond. Its shadow is the trap of enmeshment, loyalty so fierce it forgets to breathe. The fusion of self and other until there's no distinction. You stay, not because it's right, but because you're afraid not to. Yet, when this energy matures, it becomes rootedness, a chosen bond, a connection that respects both roots and reach. You can go deep without losing your shape. And it's city, unity, not as sameness, but as sacred closeness. A place where intimacy doesn't reduce you, it refines you. The weak force, the catalyst of change. Its shadow is collapse. You've lost something, an identity, a relationship, a version of yourself, and in the aftershock, you don't know who you are. But this is where the alchemy begins. The weak force whispers, let go. Not to erase, but to compost, to turn grief into ground, memory into movement. The gift here is release, the skill of dying many small deaths so that something wiser can live. And the city, transmutation, a self reborn not in spite of breaking, but because of it. Time, the frame of becoming. In its shadow, time becomes resistance. You grip a past that cannot return. You brace against a future that hasn't arrived. You live in fragments, regret behind you, fear ahead. But when you enter time fully, it becomes presence, the ability to meet what is, moment by moment. No rush, no rewind, just this frame, this breath. And the city? Timelessness. The still point at the heart of change. The awareness that every moment, when fully lived, contains eternity. You live in all these forces. They shape you, yes, but more importantly, you shape them. Not passively, but creatively, consciously, and continually. Your nervous system doesn't merely receive the vast choreography of the cosmos like a static satellite dish absorbing invisible signals. It participates. It interprets. It turns those universal patterns into intimate, embodied experience. Gravity in your inner world becomes longing, the ache to be held, to belong, to land. Electromagnetism becomes the pulse of attraction and aversion, the delicate voltage between closeness and separation. The strong nuclear force becomes loyalty, the desire to hold together what matters even under pressure. The weak force reveals itself through grief, through loss, through the moments you dissolve in order to begin again. And time? Time becomes memory, the stitching thread, the artist's hand that layers each emotion, each decision, each breath into a sequence that you call life. These fields don't just pass through you, they become you. And as they do, each one takes on the texture of feeling. And each feeling, in turn, opens the doorway to choice. And each choice, a brushstroke. A small but sacred mark on the living canvas of your becoming. Spiral reflection. So take a moment now, not to think, but to feel. Where are these forces alive in you? Where do you pull others in, hoping they'll never leave? That's gravity, maybe in its shadow, maybe in its gift. Where do you flicker between closeness and retreat? That's electromagnetism, surfing the edges of your attachment map. Where have you held on so tightly that you forgot who you were without the bond? That's the strong force. Loyal, yes, but maybe a little lost. Where have you unraveled, fallen apart, dissolved into something unfamiliar? That's the weak force doing its sacred work. And where are you in time? Are you here, in the felt sense of now? Or are you orbiting a memory, forecasting a fear, rehearsing a regret? Your nervous system can do all of it. It can replay the past in vivid, high-definition detail. Every word, every glance, every ache, so real you feel like you're back inside it. It can simulate futures you may never live, rehearsing conversations, bracing for impact, painting full emotional landscapes from fragments of fear and hope. It can saturate the present with echoes of what's gone and premonitions of what might come, layering your now with ghost stories and future scripts. But even as it does all this, it also offers you something else, something quieter, subtler, but no less powerful. It offers you the tip of whimsy, the flicker of awareness that notices just in time that you're dreaming while awake. It offers you the moment of noticing, a single breath of spaciousness in which everything shifts. That flicker, that's your agency. That's your gift. That's the first thread of your rewiring. In that breath, you can pause. You can feel your feet. You can soften your shoulders. You can ask yourself, what force is active in me right now? Am I gripping too tightly? Am I letting go too soon? Am I using time like a shield or a sword? And can I feel the space beneath the story I'm telling? The deeper pattern underneath the performance, the quiet therapist hidden inside the tension. Because this moment you're in, no matter how dense, no matter how disorienting, it is not a punishment. It's a portal, a classroom, a spiral staircase shaped like your breath. Time is not your enemy here. It is your teacher. The rhythm section of your evolution. The quiet drumbeat beneath your becoming. It reminds you, softly but persistently, that another moment is coming, another frame is forming, another layer is loosening, another gift is emerging. And you? You're not just enduring this process, you're shaping it, with every choice to stay, to feel, to let go, to listen again. You don't have to do any of it perfectly. You just have to locate yourself, not on a calendar, not on a spreadsheet of accomplishments, not on someone else's roadmap, but in your own awareness. Because that's where the spiral turns. That's where integration begins. Because you're not broken. You're rewiring. Always. Cumulative summary so far. Part 1 introduced the ache. The dissonance when doing everything right still feels wrong. We explored the tension between form and function, the tip of whimsy, the longing for coherence across mind, body, and spirit. You were invited to notice not just what you believe, but how it feels in your nervous system when you believe it. Part 2 layered metaphor with mechanism, Ra, Seth, the gene keys, and used translation devices to bridge the esoteric and the embodied. We looked at how meaning moves through the body, how story shapes perception, how healing is not a one-time fix, but a spiraling recalibration. We explored how beliefs don't just sit in the mind, they breathe through memory, emotion, and sensation. Part 3 now returns to the roots of relationship. Atoms, forces, time, emergence. Not to reduce you to chemistry, but to show how even the chemistry carries poetry. You are not separate from the fabric of the universe. You are that fabric, folded into awareness, patterned into perspective, and shaped, moment by moment, by what you choose to notice. The self begins to feel it, not just as a story told in metaphor, but as a living system unfolding from within. What once appeared as symbol now pulses as signal, resonating not only in the mind, but through the body's quiet intelligence. This isn't just theory or poetry, it's presence. It's the felt experience of awareness coming online in real time. You sense it here, now, in this strange and sacred pause between reading and remembering, between what has already shaped you and what is still waiting to be born through you, between the known and the possible, between what was and what wants to be. And in that pause, the spiral